as Susie said, my name is Ruth Bennett. Okay. Thank you all for coming today to learn what American State Nationals are. A little history about myself for those that don't know me is I was born in Canada, so for about 4 decades I worked in Buffalo, New York for different law firms, mainly as a legal secretary. And in 2008 I took early retirement and moved here to the beautiful Pacific Northwest, and I live on Tenino. And incidentally, none of you live in wherever you live, in Thurston County or Yelm or where have you, okay, Pierce County, whatever. You don't live in a county, you don't live in anything, you live on the land, just so you know that. And so anyway, if you hear me coughing, I don't have COVID, it's a nervous cough. I'm not used to speaking to groups, just a few individuals at a time. So I'm going to mainly be following my notes. And at some point I'll be giving you my handouts, or our handouts, and introducing you also to Amos. Amos and I are members of the Assembly for the United States of America, unincorporated, and we'll tell you why. So anyway, Amos here, he hails from Switzerland. Came here in 1997. In 1995, he met his lovely wife, Tananya, and that was in 1995. And about 10 years ago, she unfortunately passed away. So he is on his own. He currently lives on Yelm. Or is
actually, it's Rainier, just 3 miles from here.
It's actually Rainier, yeah. Okay, very close to here. And Amos and I are part of the Land Patent Committee for the Assembly, which was just started over the winter time, so it's not that old. And he attends various online Zoom committees, and he can tell you about that now, what committees?
Yeah, the American state nationals and state citizens are encouraged to actively be involved in the assemblies. And we have 50 assemblies every state has its own state assembly, and we have many, many different groups, activity groups, and also groups officially doing business within the assembly. And I have been a member since April last year, and I do participate in the land patent group. I do also participate in a litigation committee that is nationwide, where we discuss legal matters which are usually very near to our skin. And we have many other groups, and I have a few more I do attend. But this information some of it is only accessible to American nationals or citizens, and some of it are open to the public. So you're welcome. For example, there's a webinar by Anna von Reitz every Monday evening, 6 p.m. Pacific time, and that's open to anyone who wants to hear it. And that gets recorded, and you can even visit old recordings. So there's many, many different venues to get yourself educated what it's all about, and how to make yourself available with your talents to help the assembly to grow and to make changes happen. So that's important.
Okay. So to begin with, I'm sure some of you, if not all of you, have heard Cliff High's recent videos or watched them, where he's mentioned about American state nationals. And that's why Zinnia received a lot of phone calls asking what that was all about, so she contacted me. For people that don't know, everyone residing in the United States is considered either a U.S. citizen or citizens of the United States. And citizens, of course, they're considered by the federal government now, they're considered terrorists, or, for a lot of years, just cattle or livestock, useless eaters, what have you. That's how they're considered with us, because they're a corporation. You know, they operate as a corporation, bottom line, you know, the board of directors, they're the ones that get everything, all the profits. So in order to act as an American state national, one has to get out of their system. One has to prove that they are not a U.S. citizen or, you know, citizen of the United States. And by the way, like I had said before, state nationals we don't reside in anything. We live on the land and soil, or we are domiciled on the land and soil. We don't live in, especially even if we use a post office address for our address, we don't live in that post office, so we always put care of, you know, written out, or C/O. And there's no such thing as a sovereign citizen. That's an oxymoron. You can't be sovereign and be a citizen because, you know, of what we're considered, and, you know, the fact that we've been slaves and indentured servants for not only decades, hundreds, if not thousands of years. They've taken advantage of us. Behind me, you'll see this is the peacetime flag. American nationals use this flag rather than the wartime flag, which everybody's familiar with, because we are at peace. In order to qualify to be an American state national, you have to be peaceful and you have to follow the public law, which is common law, okay? And right now we can give out the handouts because you can follow. We'll go through each document in the handouts. And if people have questions, if we're talking on a certain subject, if you want to ask a question, please raise your hand, and either one of us will answer. And but don't get off topic, because we may pick that particular topic up a little later. So Xenia, yeah, if you want to hand these out. And we can also hand out, everybody can have one of the business cards too. To start.
So I can legally put my flag up.
Pardon me?
I can legally put my flag up.
Yes,
I've been
yes,
wanting to
anybody
put that
that
for some
have
reason.
these flags, or have even seen them. A lot of people, they've never seen them before because, you know, every year, all the presidents, they've all had war except for Trump, you know, have declared war. So that's why you never see this flying.
I have a question about the flag. Okay, I understand the 7 stripes, but how come there's 55 stars? How many, I mean, what's the significance of 55 stars?
Well, it should be 50.
You
Did
should
I
have
not-
55?
Did I count them wrong?
I think
Yeah,
so.
there's 50.
Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50, 55. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, each row is 5, so I count 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30.
Now there's a 4 in between, so it's always 5 and 4.
And then 4.
So you have to count those as
good,
5.
thank you.
So there's
Okay.
50
Because the
for-
territories are not
Oh, you're
part.
right. Okay, I see what I'm missing. Yay.
And we're going to be losing Hawaii and probably North and South Dakota.
Yeah, but
Oh, okay.
just for the corporate part of it, not the state nationals.
We need a few more.
Yeah, you'll find out about that.
I have a question. You talked about people, citizen being cattle and slaves and all. Where does you're going to talk about this a little more of the history of that? Why are the American citizens considered or thought of as a cattle or slaves or so?
Because they're part of the you know, the United States, the corporate United States, and you know, as such, you have to you know, all the statutes, codes, and regulations, mandates, all that, because they're on their jurisdiction is the sea and the air, which is like the Pope and the Queen. So they own their loyalties to both of them, and we don't. We're belong to the land and the soil. And this was the original 50 states of the Union, and that's what we are a part of, the unincorporated states. You know, and we're the ones that have real land and soil, because the corporate government, the territorial government, which is the state of states, okay, all they did, they're corporations, and all they did was take a grid superimposed over our land and claim it as their own. They own no land whatsoever. You know, we're the ones that own the land and the soil. Just the people of the original, you know, states of the Union. And I don't know if you want to.
Yeah, I would like to say,
Jump in.
back up a little bit, because we need to know the history a little bit more. And I know not much of it, but I can say this much, that the Civil War was not a real war. It was a mercenary conflict, because remember, we have not only one constitution, as most people think, we have three. And they don't concern us. They concern our subcontractors. So as Ruth said, the jurisdiction of the sea, we hired back then, when the state was freed up, also when the American state became independent, they hired the Brits because they had a huge fleet and they were protecting the states from foreign intruders. So they made a contract with them. They made a contract with the Pope or the Vatican for the postal union, which already existed back then. And so they had these constitutions which are very clearly defined, authorized or delegated authorities to them. Now when the Civil War happened, what nobody realized, they made a switcheroo. So they created these subcontractor governments, and there's so many different names, like the United States, capital T, the United States, lower T, and then so many different versions, and we have no clue which is which, what is what. And they took advantage of that, and then slowly but surely they switched it around. So today, everybody, if you look at the alternative media, everybody talks about the patriots, we are having the rights, and no, we don't. As a citizen of the United States, nobody has rights. They only have obligations. And that's what they never told us, and that's how they basically took over the whole country for the last 160 years. Now it seems maybe very confusing at the first glance, just to understand that, look at the games like good cop and bad cop, or two different political organizations. They are on the same page, and whoever's in between is the victims, and that's are the citizens of the United States. And they don't tell you that. It's the same with everything: politics, religion, pharmaceutical products. Look, that's a very clear example. We have to become aware that we are never told the truth. We are only milked for profit and became enslaved. And the reason why that happened is the real government, after the Civil War, could not be reinstated because only one state was still in session. And it took over 150 years,
160 years.
160 years, like only in 2017, officially the United States of America, with a capital T, unincorporated, is not a business in the sense of an incorporated business, which belongs to the Pope. The Pope is in control of all licenses, and the Brits are in control of other licenses. So if you sign up for driver's license, passport, etc., the deception is right in there to let you believe, oh, I became a United States citizen, I'm now free, I'm one of the free people. No, you're now a new slave. And they never tell you that. I went through that myself. So, and the reason why you're here is you all smelled a rat. And you just couldn't put the finger on it right away. And that's where the answers come, because this all has been a deception all these many years. And the reason why we have to declare ourselves, we have to tell them we are not one of you. You have nothing to do with us. We do not belong to your laws and regulations. But that's a very big battle, because they are all criminals. And criminal doesn't say, oh yes, I'm a criminal, please forgive me. No, they all do that. We see that with the pharmaceutical companies. There's a battle. And it's not a war because we're peaceful, but we have to stand up. And I'm very happy to see you all here because I believe this momentum will take more and more and more power on its own. And it's like, have you heard of the Berlin Wall? It fell in a few weeks. And a year before that, I was in Switzerland back then. I said, the wall will never fall. And what happened? The people basically broke it apart in a few weeks. So that's how change happens. And I think we are at the beginning of one of these changes. Sorry, but I
No,
wanted to
you're
say
fine,
something.
you're fine. Yes,
So are you, correct me, please, are you talking about the difference between maritime law and common law?
Common
yeah,
yeah,
the law
yeah.
of the law of the land is common law, or
Versus law of the
called
sea and the
public law.
courts.
Yeah, all the
Right.
court things are from the sea and the air.
And they have about 70 million different statutes and all that, and they don't apply to us.
Yeah,
Yeah.
none
But
of
you have
that.
to be declared an American, otherwise
Right,
they can
right.
just drop you in.
Yeah, and the three constitutions, the first one there is the original government one, and that's from 1787. Okay, and then the territories, which are, we call them state of states, because we're the true states. The states of the Union are the true states. So the state of states are all these franchises, that are all corporations.
Municipalities.
Exactly. Well, the municipal government. But anyway, the territorial constitution was in 1789. And then the municipal one, and that is only for, basically, it was originally 1 square mile of Washington, D.C., District of Columbia. Well, then they gave them, up to 10 square miles, but it was only originally for 1 square mile. They operate there. And that's like that's how through the zip codes, they consider you a federal enclave, part of that, if you use the zip code. And that's why people now put the brackets around the zip code, because it doesn't apply to, to us. Or you might have seen many, many years ago, people would write CF, not capital, but CF in front or after the zip code, which means constructive fraud is basically what but we just put the brackets around that because we're not in the federal enclave. We're not part of, that.
You had a question before.
Well, yeah, it's just when Trump comes back and tells us we are a republic.
Tells you what?
When he tells us that we are the restored republic, will we all fit in when we become an? We won't.
No, because the three constitutions will still remain, and I don't know how they're going to become state nationals. They're still going to be like citizens if he comes back.
Yeah, see, the problem with Trump is he may not know, or he does know and does not tell. But the military, after the Civil War, President Lincoln, who was a lawyer, and remember, a lawyer is a foreign title, can never be in charge of a land and soil government. That's when the switcheroo happened. And the military, with the Lieber Code, was put in charge of the country. Now imagine that they have never told us for 160 years. How would they start telling us now? They cannot. Right. They try to hide, and they have Trump helping them to do that, and he may be just a patsy for that. I don't know. He has had very good intentions. But remember, he is still a Brit. He is under the British control, whether he knows it or not. When he talks about the people have nothing to do with him. He has to do with the civil, territorial, federal government, which is not the federation. And that is what the people don't know, and that's why they're still patsies and slaves. And that's why they can be forced to be vaccinated voluntarily under threat. And that's only possible because of that.
I heard he's had a fourth constitution signed on the 4th of July.
Yeah, unfortunately, that's another ruse, because we already have a constitution. Why would we have to change it?
Right.
There's no need for it. We have 3 of them. They're still active. They're still valid. And they just have to acknowledge it. And honestly, that's my opinion. The military is so deep in that they only want to stay in power. That's the only purpose they have right now, to stay in power. And they just do anything to bamboozle us, give us free money, which belongs to us anyway. It's our credit they have. I mean, it's such a pit of
Can of
dead,
worms.
yeah,
Yeah. Can of
worms, and it's unimaginable at the beginning, and that's why I'm still, over a year later, I'm still struggling with putting it in words.
Yeah.
It's so unimaginable.
Have you read the constitution that Great Britain had of our country? Because what I heard was that the one we were holding, the one that was forged and changed. But when they first drafted it, a copy was sent to Great Britain, and that's why Trump went and looked at it. He was trying to
He was presented with the
present it
copy.
with yeah, exactly. So it has the original that the forefathers wanted.
I don't know now about that, but I do know that one of the corporations that took over, they made their own constitution.
Yeah.
And they may have substituted the original with that. That I'm not sure. But if you go on the website, you can read up on all 3 of them, the original ones, on the original documents, and there's a transcript to it, I think, too.
I think one in Britain has the original.
Yeah, I don't know about that. Yeah.
Right. So basically, if you're still a U.S. citizen, you have no constitutional rights. We go by the rights of an American state national. We go with natural and unalienable rights given by our Creator, God-given rights, at the Bill of Rights, and there again, our jurisdiction is the land and the soil is the top 6 inches of land, and they're interconnected. You know, it's not like it's a separate thing, so the land and the soil. So what is an American state national? There are American state citizens, but we're not going to talk about that today. An American state national is someone who pledges their allegiance to one of the original states of the Union, usually where they live. Okay, you're either like a Washingtonian if you're, you know, in Washington, American state national. And then according to even the United States Code, okay, 8 U.S.C. Section 1101 A21, the term national means a person owing permanent allegiance to a state. And according to 8 U.S.C. Section 1101 A22, the term national of the United States means A, a citizen of the United States, or B, a person who, though not a citizen of the United States, owes permanent allegiance to the United States. And this would be people that had been naturalized, or if you're here under a green card, and these are the requirements to become an American state national.
Wait a second, I think there's a mix-up here I would like to correct.
Okay,
A national has no obligations whatsoever to the country.
right.
A citizen
To the
takes...
government, not the country, the
Well,
government.
yeah, I mean, you have to, of course, treat everyone as you would like to be treated yourself, and you have to uphold the law. That's,
Right.
of course, the part of it. But what I'm trying to say is, what these codes say, they talk about persons, and as we all know, every corporation is a person, and that's a switcheroo again. And every people are persons, so we never know what they talk about when they talk about us as a person. So we have to be very careful about that. And the citizen has obligations, a national does not.
To government,
To
to
the
the
government,
government,
yeah.
to that corporate government.
Right.
So anyone born in the United States can become an American state national. Anyone who has become naturalized through the U.S. process can become an American state national. Anyone who is here under a green card can also. And anyone who has been here for at least 7 years and is undocumented can also become an American state national. So there we go with the United States of America unincorporated. Anna Von Reitz, I don't know, you a judge or retired judge, I don't know.
I think she was a justice. She wasn't
Oh,
a
okay.
U.S. government judge. So
Yeah, on Alaska. She's prepared, or actually her team has done the paperwork to become an American State National, which the paperwork is very, very simple. If you look at the first page of the handout, you'll see about the Washington Assembly and that we're in session lawfully and peacefully. And we also, well, we'll see the terms a little bit later. It's in this handout as well. But what we're here to do is to return power to the people of Washington, okay, and to complete the reconstruction of the state government, that's our government, to restore the federal republic in cooperation with assemblies in the other 49 states, okay, and to form our own common law grand jury, okay. No, you can ask.
What Cliff High mentioned was that he felt that so many people in the state of Washington, because he lives here, would be becoming natural sovereigns.
Yeah.
I'm thinking natural American sovereigns because of the way that this state is run. And so it would naturally push people over into that. And he expected hordes. Like half the state's just going to turn over to this.
Yeah, well, actually, it's the best thing. If you look at the red square at the bottom of the first page, and then the blue square, the red square, American State National, is a natural, unalienable rights endowed by our Creator. That's why what we go by. We're the sovereign man or woman on the land and soil. We are afforded American common law that is guaranteed by the Constitution, and we do not pay federal income taxes unless we're actually a government employee. Yeah. That if you're a United States citizen, you have civil rights or privileges granted by the government, which they can take away at any time, which they have been doing. They're classified as a franchise dependent of the government. If you're, a citizen, that's what you're considered. You're subject to tens of thousands of corporate statutes and codes and regulations and mandates. And you're required to pay federal income taxes as a government franchise. Okay? The next page, are you a U.S. citizen? You can read through those, okay, and see if you answer yes or no. And if you answer yes to any of the questions, you're a U.S. citizen. If you answer no, you're not a U.S. citizen and you're not obligated to pay federal taxes.
But remember, no has to be said to every of the questions in order to qualify to be a national. And if you do not, you can always change that status and you have to correct it. For example, I was signed up with food stamps and I had to cancel it, even though it was a hardship on me, but I could not maintain that food stamps because that was a benefit given by me of the federal government. However, I'm now receiving Social Security pension payments. That is not a benefit, even though they always call it that, but I paid into the system, they owe me. So there's nothing to do with income or anything, they owe me that. That's a very important distinction between these things.
Well,
Right.
I see it that way.
I know. But if people
Very
are on food stamps, they should get off of food stamps and use the food banks. That's okay,
What happens if we were young and unemployable, because we had kids when we were 20 years old and we're on welfare, food stamps?
That's the past.
What you have been doesn't count anymore.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
You just have to declare yourself away from it. I had to send in a letter. I cut out my card for the food stamps, and they would try to. Next month I got another one. Oh, you should get your food stamps. You don't want to miss out on it. And I had to tell them, no, I do not allow you to send me that stuff anymore. So,
I know that in Seattle, in order to qualify to go to the food banks, you have to have your EBT card, which is the food stamp card. This is
Wow.
only in Seattle that I know.
So that's how they
Yeah.
control us.
They want to,
trying to
yeah,
get
control
food
the
bank?
people,
Yeah.
exactly.
They have food banks set up all over, and you show your EBT card and you can come in.
I don't mean it's the law, you should look up where you don't, they just
Right,
gotta
I'm
tell you
just-
that, they always trying to leave people around.
Well,
know, so-
yeah.
Then you
Don't
make
look
up
it
your
up.
own card, you know.
Yeah.
Okay, the third page, okay, is a diagram of the greatest fraud committed, and this is what they've been doing to us. You know, when we become a state national, we are foreign to them because we're not in their jurisdiction and they're not in ours. This is like the court systems are all foreign to us. We should not go into their court systems. You're never going to win, especially in the lower courts, because they're criminal, you know, they're all this corruption. They will never side in your favor, or very seldom, if any. So you don't go into their system. But if you just look over this diagram, you'll see, and they do this through, you know, they've done this since our birth certificate, you know, they've made the mothers register, you know, and then they, you know, they give you the certificate of live birth or what have you. But by the full CAPS name, your full name, if you have a first name, middle name, last name, okay, that is not you. Because if you look at your birth certificate, you know, that you have, it's not all in full CAPS name. And they use these deceptions all the time. So what they do is they, issue you, you know, they turn around and they issue it, but they consider you a dead person or you're lost at sea.
That's how they convert you to a corporation.
Exactly,
Yeah,
by the full
they
CAPS
convert you
name, that's
through
what
the
it
birth
means.
certificate. And they bond. That birth certificate is a bond. They send it off to the Treasury, and every time you apply for a loan, any kind of a loan, they
Exactly.
use your social security number that's attached to that birth certificate. They send it off to that application off to the Treasury. The Treasury says, yes, you have an account. They send a check back to the bank or wherever you applied. And then that bank says, well, here's the money you're borrowing, and here's the promissory note to pay it back. It's all a fraud. It's all comes from your bond.
Exactly,
That is
exactly.
correct.
And when they use your first name with just a middle initial in your last name, you're considered a public transmitting utility, you know, and they use you that way.
And it's
And
chattel.
first and last name only in full caps, you're a ward of the state. And this is why so many people, you know, with their children, you know, they'll step in and they'll take their children away if something, you know, they don't, you know, they have problems or what have you. They just take the children away because the children are wards of the state.
That's running rampant in Europe. It's been rampant in
Yeah,
Europe.
yeah. And of course, you know, what they're doing now with the children, so it's, yeah, it's just terrible. So, anyway, you can see there, you know, how the fraud that they perpetrated against us. The next one is our actual sovereign government. And if you can look through that, I won't go over it all in detail because you could, you know, take this home and you'll probably want to study some of these things.
But this page is the one page you want to pay attention to. It explains the whole fraud and why it could happen because of all this similarity of names and pretending to be somebody else, which you're not. I mean, this is showing who is what and where you want to belong. It does tell here.
Right.
Oops.
And what was I going to say?
And also, just to make sure we don't confuse issues, even before the Civil War, we did have an incorporated, a corporate state of state, which was the Confederation of States. They were also a subcontractor of the Federation of States. to do business, everyday business, like take care of the streets, take care of public utilities and all that. That has never changed. Only the occupant has changed, and they controlled and made us the slaves. That's the only change that happened. So in other words, if we finally come back and take over what belongs to us, those institutions, they can still exist, but they're not having their allegiance to the US government any longer. They work under us. And they do still their same jobs, but they have no more monetizing schemes going against us. It will be just straight up business and service.
They're administrators now,
Yes.
strictly administrators of the people's business.
Exactly.
Not
Right.
of their own personal.
Exactly.
Exactly. You know, and if you look on the very first page again, the very bottom, you'll see, therefore, the U.S. citizens residing in one of the states of the Union are classified as property and franchises of the federal government as an individual entity. And then there's a site, you know, Wheeling Steel Corporation versus Fox, and where that can be found. So, you know, they try to hide things, but it's all in their statutes. If you look up certain things, it'll tell you, you know, that we're considered livestock, that, you know, and even now, you know, that we're terrorists, you know, what have you. So it's not like we've just made this up. You know, it really is true. If people do their due diligence and check things out, you know, to prove for themselves.
Well, proof is what's happening to the parents that are standing up in front of these school boards. and
Exactly.
saying, this transgender stuff is not gonna happen, this critical race stuff is not gonna happen, and the FBI is going after it. The
That's right.
parents.
Yep,
So
yep, that's what they do.
that's awakening everybody to say, hey, no, we're not your chattel, and we're gonna fight against it. So it's all coming together.
Yeah, there's always purposeful good in everything, and I think they are so in the corner now, they have nothing else than fight for their lives, and so everything hopefully becomes so obvious that everybody's waking up finally.
Yep.
So
Yeah. So if you look at the next handout, and this is the 5 columns, and you'll see at the top left-hand corner what it is to be an American state national, okay? And the next one is just a state citizen, okay? The next one, a federal United States citizen. The next one, a territorial United States system, and a municipal system of the United States. So this is, you know, if you read through that, that's pretty eye-opening, telling you why you want to be an American state national and get out of their system, out of their hold on you.
and also important to know, it's all up to you. They have nothing to say about your choice to become a national. You just have to declare it in their own records or in the LRO, Land Recording Office of the assemblies, that you have done it, and you can prove it if you have to. And they still try to harass you and convict you, but they are basically outside the law, our law, and they cannot enforce it against us. However, a tyrant will always be a tyrant, so until there is no more tyrant around. So we have to fight that way out. We cannot just say, now I'm an American national, you cannot touch me. Yes, that would be beautiful, and it's true, but they don't listen.
Well, they'll
So
test you.
Yeah,
And if you don't know how to stand up, and you don't know your rights, and how to be clear, and
correct, like
Yeah,
with
they
anything
will.
like traffic stops and anything like that. That's
Exactly.
true.
So many
Yeah.
of them may just be in ignorance themselves.
That's what I was going to say, yeah. A lot of them that
You
are
have to battle
working,
that, you know?
yeah, they don't have a clue what they're doing. You know, they think they're doing what they're being told, and
they would hold
they're
guard.
fine, yeah. Yeah,
I
so,
would suppose if you were a police officer and you became a American national, that they'd be fired, probably.
probably. Apparently, a lot of this, if people do work for the government, you know, the corporate governments, yeah. You can still become an American state national. Yeah, during the day you do your job, whatever, if your conscience, will let you. And then, after that, then you're the American state national, the living man or woman. We've had people that have recently joined that they have been in positions where they no longer feel that it's right to do that, and they've just dropped it to become, and they're going to be doing something different.
And they work for the state? Federal government?
Well, a lot of them have done that, but also they've, what's her
Like,
face?
yeah, being in financial services.
Yeah, financial services,
banking services.
advising people, to get a mortgage or this, that, and the other. Well, mortgages are all fraud. So once they realize that, they're not going to force the people into doing things like that. So they've quit their jobs, So this is something that, people that are still working for, like, government organizations or whatever, and when they find out the truth of what is really happening, they have to make a choice. If they're going to still continue to go along with it, if the paycheck is more important than, than this, then...
How does this affect the Native Americans?
The Native Americans have become fully included in the American people. There's no more discrimination from the Federation of States. There's no discrimination against Indians people. They are fully recognized as Americans.
So they should know this.
They should, and some of them have joined. Yeah.
Yeah. The next page is the terminology. You'll see on the left-hand side the legal, what they call legal, and that's, the British side of things, the wording. And then you'll see to be an American state national, the lawful side. We go by being lawful, not legal, because there is a difference. If you look in the dictionaries, the legal dictionaries, the law dictionaries, you'll see the difference. If you just scan down there, you'll see the difference in the terminology that we use. For instance, we don't deal with commerce. That is strictly corporate, and we do trade,
Yeah, and to connect with Susie on that one, you don't have to have a private membership organization. You can, of course, but if you do trade as a national, you do not owe taxes. You do not have to have a license. You can practice healing. You don't have to be a doctor. You don't have to be anything licensed, because that's already contracting you with them. And you have to distance yourself from that. But you could theoretically still have a business and deal with incorporated people, because like as a doctor you could still have them coming in, and then you would do it as a licensed doctor. But if you have private patients, there's nobody else's business, and they have no right to interfere, because you don't do it as a doctor, you do it as a person, as a people, with your own knowledge. And for you, that would be the same thing. If you can make this difference between incorporated and not incorporated, you don't have to worry about anything except making very clear that you always tell everybody coming in the door that they are a person, and then you have to tell them and disclose what this is all about. Is at their risk that they do business with you. But if you are doing trade with people like we all are, and we are
living people,
living people, and we declare that on the record, nobody can mess with it.
So you put a sign
Yeah, you post
on
it?
your door.
Yeah,
All right.
yeah, there was.
Simply,
No, you don't have to do that. I think there was a restaurant in New York during COVID. They had. I have to find it. I don't remember what it said, but they made it very clear that whoever entered the restaurant did it as a people and not as a person, and at their own risk. and if they weren't, they should stay away. Something
Yeah.
in that
As
way.
a people, not as a
People,
person?
no,
or do
person,
you-
we don't use the word person. We're
Because a
one
person is
people.
incorporated,
Yeah,
yeah.
Yeah, because
You're-
of
You're
the
not a person, you have a person. In
Yeah.
the form of a license or a state ID,
Okay.
that's your
Right.
person.
right.
Yeah.
If you know how to wield your person, you're good, but we don't. We all think that we are the person.
Yeah.
right, and when they
Exactly.
address you.
Sentient being.
Exactly. And when you look at your debit cards, credit cards, bank statements, you always written in all caps.
Mm-hmm.
That's not you, that's the person. And if you let them know that you're not the same, they have no more access to you.
And
But
that's-
Right,
And it's your transmitting utility that they're using to do trade with.
Yeah.
Under your name.
exactly.
Ken Dost. Oh, well, never mind. I don't
Yeah.
want to digress.
Yeah.
yeah,
And we
that's-
don't use prefixes in our names either. We're not Ms., Mr., or Mrs. We're just our name, our full name.
We don't use any capitals in it. When we
Yeah.
write our name. And we print. We don't do cursive.
Well,
Yeah,
you
well,
can do
that's-
initial
that's-
caps.
That's
We use
up to you.
initial
But for
caps.
example, in my case, when it's really important, I use all lowercase in my name, but I'm used to use initial capitals.
Initial caps.
And I'm always say a man afterwards.
Right.
It makes it very clear I'm not a person.
Okay, what do you say afterwards?
A man, comma, a man, or in your case, a woman.
A woman.
Amen, amen, M-A-N.
Yeah.
I would write
Or
A
a woman.
woman.
A
Or-
woman,
or
right.
whatever you-
A living woman,
living
but
woman.
yeah,
Yeah, you don't have to say living,
Yeah.
because self-explanatory. But the key is, in courts or in all these correspondences you get, you sometimes don't know who they are addressing. So, and that's how they get you. They connect you with the other person, and then you're responsible to pay the bills.
Yeah, I've read that.
So,
yeah. And no
hard to
titles
work
of
that way.
nobility either, like Esquire, or Honorable. You don't use those.
Or
We don't use,
doctor, or
Yeah.
those?
yeah, we don't, we don't. Well, here, we don't have medical doctors, we use we have physicians. It's in the terms, so you'll see that.
So
We
you
don't
know-
use person, or even it says here human, we say living man or living woman. That's the only thing that we want to be addressed by,
That's why Cliff is half past human.
right? Right.
How about children? If you have,
There's, one of the documents, is, to take the children out of the system too. If you have young children or children under 21, there is a form that you can take them out of the system too, and they can become, an American
yeah,
state
but
national.
if you're 70 and you have a 40-year-old child or 50-year-old
Yeah,
child,
they have to do
you
it
can-
themselves.
No, you can still do it for
Oh,
them.
really?
Yeah, because they can't do it for themselves because they're not their mother or father. They have to do it to get them out. But they can be a national by themselves. That's true. But in order to get rid of the whole thing, I believe I may be wrong, but I think the mother or father has to do that in their place.
Right. So, yeah, we can talk about, I brought myself and Luby's my husband back there doing the audio. When we became state nationals, usually you prepare this little, book here, and you have your documents in there. So I could pass these out if people want to take a look. In order to become a state national, there's only basically 5 documents that people have to fill out. They're one-page documents, very simple. And we don't sign documents also, we autograph documents, and we use our seal is our thumbprint in red, and that we put on documents. And if you're going to sign state national, sign always by using a byline, BY, and then, write your full name with the copyright symbol, and then your, thumbprint, you'll see here. So the Declaration of Naturalization Act of July 1779 is the first document for anyone that wants to become an American state national would sign, and they have the choice of going to a state-of-state notary public, because notaries in our system, like State National, they're public notaries, they're not notaries public, notary publics, yeah. So they could, but you could either go to a state notary or the recording secretary, an international notarial witness. And that's because our assembly has a land recording office where all our documents are recorded. And if you get to the point where you do the paperwork and then you complete this part one that they have so far of the course, which is very, very easy. You read, it's online. I think it's $25 to take the course, and you answer the questions. And if you answer them wrong, you can go back and pick another answer till you get it right. But and you get then the certificate of completion. After that, you can apply for a credential card. Do you have yours on you?
Yeah.
Okay.
We did that when we had to be
Now-
naturalized.
Yeah.
We had to go to class and do all that other stuff.
Yeah.
Well, this is not a condition of it, but
Yeah.
it gives you more access to more services.
Right. Yeah, and the credential card, we don't call it an ID card, but that's basically what it is.
Yeah, I can
That's
give
our
this run.
cred-
You already know how an
credential
ID
card.
card looks like, but this is a
Yeah.
credential card.
And
See
then
if you
the back of
printed
it has
on it.
scan
Just need my
codes
glasses.
on it. So any official, like say a police officer stops you, okay, they can scan the back of the thing and it pulls up your picture, your name, and every single document that you've recorded with the Land Recording Office. So they can see proof that you are a state national, that you're not a citizen, and they are supposed to leave you alone, you know. And if they don't, there's ways of getting back at them, which we're not talking about today.
How does this work toward your property taxes, or do you still pay income taxes?
That's a whole
that's a
different
whole
ball
different
game.
story. We're not gonna talk, that's, like, we belong to the Land Recording Office, or not the Land
Land
Recording.
Patent.
Land Patent Committee, okay? I've been doing for the over a decade,
As long as I
helping
know you,
people, yeah, doing land patents. But this is strictly for citizens, okay? Because I was ignorant back there, didn't know anything about becoming an American state national. Now that we have the Land Patent Committee, we've prepared documents, it's mainly him and I of the committee. It's called a deed of reconveyance, and I won't go into that, what that entails now, but you can, come and ask me later what that is. And that, if you do that and file it, no property taxes. You're not, state nationals don't pay property tax, fines, penalties, any of that crap. But there's a procedure that you have to go through, to do that.
And what
it
about,
has to
did you
be-
guys get your original birth certificates back?
No.
You
no.
declare yourself
Yeah.
as one of the people,
In order to
and you
record,
claim your rights back.
yeah, in order to record your documents, they need to see your original birth certificate, or if you've been naturalized, your naturalization,
Straw man.
yeah, certificate. That's all, just to prove who you are, and then you complete the documents, and the recording secretary, you find out who your recording secretary is. Like, right now, we're trying to get this going for Thurston County. Other counties already have an assembly in place, and there'd be 1 or 2 recording secretaries, maybe more now, and you would contact them, to file. And we don't file, we record documents. Filing is in the corporate system. Okay, so we
As you
record
see,
our,
there's a whole language we need to still learn, and we
Memorize.
still fall into old behaviors.
yeah,
Memorize.
Plus, on here, it says, recorded lifetime visible concealed carry
right,
weapons.
Right.
Right.
The Second Amendment
This-
is guaranteed to us. We don't have to have a permit to carry
if
weapons.
you want to take a look at, that one's mine.
How do you
Okay.
get a card like that?
You have to
Yeah.
become an American national,
Would it be
American
better for
state
me to-
national.
So I have a green card.
wherever
You have
you
a green card,
live.
you can become an American national, state national.
Or in
Yeah.
Thurston County, Louisville.
And
Oh,
once
you're
you are
over
that,
Thurston County? Yeah,
you can
so
apply
you
for
would
the
just
credential
join
card.
the Pierce County,
We
you know,
can join
assembly.
Thurston.
If there are,
Can I just join?
Yeah, let's just join Thurston. Oh, shut up, let's just do it.
it doesn't matter, you can go to all of them, and wherever you record your documents, it doesn't matter. I live on Thurston County, but my documents are recorded in King County, because we would go to the main assembly meetings for Washington State. You know, they were in
And
Falls
they have the
City.
main office there, so they can do all the paperwork there.
Yeah,
So what
and the
you have to
recording
be
offices.
clear that if you are born in another state,
yeah.
that will be your state, and then you just move your domicile here. But you would be, I believe, you would be registered with your original state, but you can still, I think, still do the paperwork here. I don't know
Yeah,
for sure.
yeah, it doesn't matter where it's recorded. And also, like, there's 5 documents. These documents, did I pass the little cards?
Yeah.
Okay, if you take a card,
Everybody has a
on the
card.
back of the card, it has the web addresses, you know, and what's for, and you'll see forms. So there's forms in there that, like, for instance, if you were born in a state, one of the 50 states of the Union, okay, that you would use that form to fill out and autograph.
The website sometimes is very slow, so you have to be patient when you click it. It may not come right away.
Right,
Come in about
And-
5-10 seconds later.
yeah. And the
And
forms are
also-
there for free, that
Yeah.
you could pull up and do it all yourself. And like I say, you only need the 5, and of that 5, 2 of them are witness statements. You need 2 people that have known you for at least 7 years, you know, and they can be related to you, but they have to know you for 7 years. And they can either sign if they're not state nationals or autograph if they are state nationals. You know, and same with if somebody's undocumented, but they've been living here 10, 15 years or whatever, as long as they know 2 people that have known them for 7 years, they can use them, you know, as witnesses.
Can those people actually, after they become, you know, all the, I can't say it right.
American State
American
National.
State National. Will they be able to travel in and out of the country legally?
Oh, yeah, that's.
If you're an American state national,
Yes. I mean,
You can-
It started out as an
You
illegal
can-
alien.
Right.
You've been here for 7 years, and then you decide to go through the American whatever, and then you.
yes, you can apply for a passport. And applying for an American state passport, there's certain things we go by, moonshine,
Yeah,
whatever it
moonshine
is.
stills, I haven't really looked into that yet, but
Yeah.
I do have
If you
to.
read through there, you have to answer questions a certain way, but you can follow that process. You'll get an American passport until the assembly is able to issue our own passports.
Now, what, moonshine? What,
What is it called?
Moonshine stills?
Something,
I-
there's another
something
name
like
of it,
that.
something copper moonshine
Copper
stills.
moonshine.
And I haven't really looked into it myself, but they do have a whole information about the passport, how to apply for a passport.
Now, when you do get that passport, it does not say on there American State National, but there's some coding in there to show that they know that tells you that you're not a U.S. citizen. You know,
because, well, but I guess it was about 8 years or 9, 10 years ago now. We went through all of this state, American Assembly, or the Assembly, state assemblies.
right.
And there was a gentleman from Connecticut that came out because he was revamping the passport. And his information was very interesting, where it says U.S. citizen, are you a U.S. citizen?
You answer
You
no.
write- You write no, and
Right.
then you put in American national.
Yeah.
State national. It's
Yeah, and that's
important.
probably the copper moonshine, same thing. You definitely don't say you're a U.S. citizen. You don't cross that out.
I just have a weird question. What is with the red thumbprint?
That's your seal.
That's your
Why
seal.
do you have to have, it's like a
Because there's
blood?
only
This is
one
creepy.
Yeah, I think it has to do with that.
Yeah.
I'm not sure, but that's
Yeah.
why it's red.
Creepy.
Yeah.
What remember is also this red and blue thing. I was when I saw the Matrix 4 or 5 times, I was wondering why did they use the red pill and not the blue pill? And then I realized, oh, the Democrats are red and the Republicans are blue, so there must be some kind of a,
It's the other way
It's the other way
around.
around.
or,
Yeah.
yeah,
Blue.
Yeah, I see.
right, Democrats are blue, so that's why they couldn't have been
Yeah.
the blue pill. Anyway, but it
that's
has
your
to do with
seal.
history, I think, what is the
anytime you
meaning
need
of
a
colors.
seal.
But that's like a blood seal.
Yeah, but your
Well,
fingerprint is uniquely yours.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It
that's
doesn't
what I
belong to
did.
anybody
Why
else.
do
It's supposed
you
to
do it in blood?
represent, it's supposed to
It's a
symbolize the
living
blood, because
person.
Only a
it's
living,
red.
a living
Your
being
person
can have a
has-
thumbprint.
Okay.
Yeah, corporation doesn't have thumbprints.
Documents were sealed with red wax.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah,
It's not.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's an individual, nobody can fake it for you, so.
right, so
So
that's.
I
what-
cannot come and pretend to be you with my thumbprint, because if somebody looks at it, and that's why it's on the credential card, it's recorded.
And on the back, there's a QRS code or QPS, whatever.
It's in your file, your
And that's-
thumbprint is in
yeah.
your file, and they can always verify it if there's a question
So
about
Yeah.
it's on the blockchain.
But purple,
So-
No, it's
is
just
the
in the
color of
file.
royalty, which
I
is
don't
what we
think-
all are. So if you take the red and the blue and you combine them, you get purple. Okay, so it really is about, we're learning how to come into singularity and take this opposing wings of the same bird of prey, the Democrat, Republican, the red and the blue, and the
Right,
cops, when they pull you over, they got that red and blue, because it
Flashing.
confuses your mind.
exactly,
So-
exactly. And like, we don't use the purple, we don't use the purple because that's nobility. We don't take titles of nobility.
Right,
You
but
know-
there's a difference between nobility and actual royalty, because
Exactly.
we are all children
Royal.
of the
Exactly,
king, right?
exactly. And, yeah, like even lawyers, you know how they use the Esquire? No lawyer, they're a British United States citizen, all lawyers, so they're foreign to us. So you could make them file the FARA form, you know,
Foreign
which is a
agents
Foreign
registration.
Agent Registration Act, and they're supposed to be filing that. They won't like that, but you can press them to it. You know, you can force them to, you know, or send them, you know, we do a fee schedule, and we're not gonna talk about that today, but, if you
schedule's
take a
in the
look
back
at
of your
that,
book.
it's pretty hefty.
Yeah,
You
well,
know, you can send
it'll
them a
make
bill.
them step back and think twice.
Ooh.
Exactly. So anyway, the 5 documents I just want to go over with you
That would be-
to become an American State National. The first one is the Declaration of Naturalization Act of July 1779. You don't have a copy of that. That's what's in these books here. What I do have copies afterwards, you'll see, are all copies of Anna von Wright's articles. If you just go into her website, which is, I think it's just AnnaVonWrights.com.
AnnaVonWrights.com, RITC.
If you could scroll to the very end, she's written at least, you say 3,700.
All
I
of
thought I
that, all of
read
that.
like 4,500 near the end. But in any event, on her website, she has tons of articles. And if you're going to go in there to read them, which is really worthwhile, you should try to do this every day. You know, just read a few of them. Start from the very end, because you'll get the most current, and work your way backwards for the articles.
I was printing her
But
stuff
anyway, yeah, the declaration. Then there's a declaration of political status. That's the second one that you will be autographing, and that will have a seal on it. They'll put a gold seal on that one, because this is where you're declaring that you're American State National. You're no longer a citizen. And then you'll see 2 of the witness from 2 people that have known you for at least 7 years, the witness testimony. And then there's acknowledgement, acceptance, and deed of conveyance, okay? It's a deed of conveyance if you weren't born in the United States. You know, if you're born in some other country or what have you, it is called the deed of conveyance. If you were born in one of the states, you know, it will be, you will write in deed of reconveyance there.
And an interesting detail thing, if you are born in the United States and you do the reconveyance, you sign in red. We have signed in blue because we have not been here before. I
Right.
thought they might have to, again, the colors have a meaning.
Yeah.
So.
There's a lot of symbolism in it.
Right, and, yeah, even the where is it the very first document? You don't sign in cursive. You print,
Yeah.
you
So-
print your full name, because that's how you did it, like when you were taught in school. Okay, because at your birth, when they took your names away, so you're signing that by, printing your name. You still put the copyright symbol, the byline is still there, and your thumbprint is still there. And then, let me just say, the last document is, I think that's the last document then. All the other documents that are in here are options that you can, there's one to take back all your DNA and everything, the placenta, all this stuff that they stole from you.
Kurt
At birth.
Hollenbach has tremendous information on that particular subject, of how they came to using the afterbirth
Right?
as the deceased and
Yep.
claiming it. And so the reason do you know why it's a reconveyance and not just,
Yeah, because you were already on the,
Yeah.
well, it's because
the
our
land.
bodies are they're made from the land.
exactly,
So
the land.
this deed is for your body, not your soul, your consciousness, which is always yours, right?
Right, and you have
right.
been
It's
lost
all
at
the
sea
body.
and you have returned. But
Yeah.
I have never been lost at sea, I just was not in this country. So that's why I did a conveyance, not a reconveyance. I was never conveyed.
Yeah.
Here, I didn't have to redo it, I did it the first time. That's the
Yeah.
difference, yeah.
And then the act of expatriation and oath of allegiance, because you're now with the state, but the state of the union, not the state of states. That's,
So you help us.
It's very confusing, and for me, it still is.
well,
Say yes.
Or how do we do it?
we're,
I'm not sure we get it all.
if you go into the forms, there's some explanation. Recently, because I've had so many people ask me, oh, would you please help me with it? Will you please do my forms,
Study group.
So what I've done, yeah, you can either do that, or I'm offering my services too for a donation. And in mine, rather than just the 5 copies needed, there's others like a common carry. If you want to carry a
Okay.
weapon, concealed or not, you can do that to take back your DNA, blah, blah, blah. So I'll do up to 15 or something like that forms for, usually the donation's $100 and I do all 15.
Can we do it like a small group thing?
We could,
And then so we can all learn as we go through it?
yeah,
Can you handle maybe 5, 7 people
yeah,
doing this all at the same time?
yeah,
That way we do our own forms, but we're just being supervised and guided.
right.
And we still pay you? For
Well,
your time, of course.
you can donate whatever.
Okay, that's good.
Do you,
So how
do
do
you
we-
keep copies of these?
Yeah, or
They're all on, not really, because everyone's is a little bit different. You know, how you, how you fill it out. And the forms are on,
No, I mean, of
The
what
thing.
you have finished of your own personal. Do you
Yeah.
have additional copies
No.
stored safely
oh, I
somewhere?
have one, yeah.
Okay.
I have the originals. These are just photocopies, color
Okay.
photocrop copies. That's what you do. You would just keep your originals, make color photocopies, and then keep one extra copy of, the color photocopies. We won't really get into that, but it's like you want to keep this with you, like, one set in your car or whatever. If you could stop by an officer. Some counties, there's quite a few officers that know about this, and they'll leave the people alone. And then there's others that they don't care, because you don't hand them your driver's license and your thing. You're traveling. We don't drive, we travel. You know.
Driving is when you're in commerce.
Exactly. And
Travel's a
you
word in
don't,
commerce too.
you don't,
Travel is a word in commerce too, if you look it up.
right, but that's the word that we use. We're allowed to travel anywhere,
It's called ingress and regress.
ingress and
Yeah.
egress.
Yeah, but that's a
Yeah.
permission
And
given
egress.
to them to come on your land.
Right.
The key is traveling is a right, it's not a privilege. As a commercial driver, you have the privilege for buying your license, you get the privilege to do
Yeah.
that and to make money and all that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's why. So, yeah, if you get stopped and he tries to, blah, 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 you don't have to answer anything to him. You don't have to call him sir, any of these things. You can hand him your booklet, or usually when you get your credential cards, there's 2 of them. you can hand them one card, but I've been told that a lot of officers have been keeping them. You know, so if you've got the two, you make sure you've got the other one on you, hidden somewhere, you know, in your car, so that you don't lose it completely. Or to show them this, if they're interested, they might look through it, you know, but you have them, they can scan the back of your card. So like I say, they'll see every single document that's been recorded that proves that you are an American State National. Now, a lot of people have been State Nationals through David Straight's method, and I guess there's other people out there doing it, which is fine. You know, they've done it, that's good. The advantage of ours is we have our own land recording office where we can have everything recorded, where it can be scanned, or anybody can type in, they can go to E-Verify, I don't have the address right in front of me, but...
Yeah, it's on the card.
Oh, it might be on the card, but you can go in and you can type in anybody's name, you know, and if they're a state national, it will come up on there, and you'll see the documents too that they've done. You'll see their picture. You'll see all of that. So I think this is great proof, because just saying, oh, I'm an American, you know, you could have done the card, made up a card on your own. You know, they don't know, but this way is proof. But apparently, and then you tell them no contract. You know, if they want to contract with them, you can hand them your fee schedule and say, this is what I charge, payable up front, you know, if you want to contract with me. And if they still are
That means your
stubborn,
speeding ticket.
if they're still stubborn and write you out a ticket, just take it. You know, don't worry about it, because then what you do is you make a photocopy of all your documents. Within 3 days, you get them to the clerk of the court there. And, you know, and then if they'll be smart, you know, sometimes they resend it out again. You just send your papers
Send it
again.
certified.
Well, no, we don't use certified mail. State nationals only use registered mail.
I meant registered, you're right.
Yeah, we do registered
sure they
mail.
get
Unfortunately, it's more
that green
expensive,
card.
but I think things that aren't super important, you can use, like the priority mail, or actually first-class mail, is basically the same thing as priority mail. People think priority mail is something special, but it's just the fact that first-class mail only goes up like to 12 ounces or something. Anything 13 ounces and beyond, it's just called priority mail because it's a bigger package. But it's, you know, it's not, you can't go on a one-page document and tell them I want priority mail, because they won't send it priority mail. It's not 13 ounces. They'll just send it, you know, first-class mail. But we use registered mail for anything
Oh, you could in
important.
a flat rate.
But, you know, we're not going into the details of
You
that.
had a question?
Is a national subject to speed limits and stop signs?
No, that's not, our codes and regulations, all that they have. We're not in that system, no.
No,
No,
you're self-responsible for your actions. In other words, if you speed and you hit someone,
You're
you're
responsible.
responsible, and you will be treated very harshly according to common law, and not as lenient with the civil law. But the key is, if you treat yourself, I mean, if you're honorable, you won't speed in an area you can't see where you are. So you will be responsible for yourself, but you don't have to follow the speed limits if you feel secure. But the key is, I would not recommend you doing that right now, because the police is right next around the corner and he will try to write you up. So be wise about this, and says, okay, I know I can go 80 on here, but I want to go now, I'll go only 60, because if this, I go very, very clearly always at the 5 miles at tops over the speed limit, because I just don't want to have to challenge to be stopped. Other people say, oh, we don't care, we just challenge you, I want to know how it works.
You don't want to abuse the state.
Well, the speed limit and the
abusive
stop
to it.
signs are all there for safety reasons. That's
Right.
it, not to control you. So
Right.
just be safe and keep others safe. You know.
Exactly,
Right.
because we are responsible, and
That's
state
another
nationals
question.
are self-governing,
Yes.
you know.
Do you actually keep
So-
your driver's license when you're in American State?
Anna suggests that we still keep our driver's license
Yeah, it
until...
belongs to us, it's us, ours.
And do you keep your passport as well and travel with that? Or?
I do. but the key is eventually you can have your
Change
own
it.
passport, a real American passport, which is now through this moonshine, cup of moonshine still. You just have to change a few things to make sure they know you're not an American citizen. But
A US
eventually,
citizen,
a
yeah.
US citizen, but eventually, yeah, American citizen is an oxymoron. But eventually you will have your, once we are in session and have all these offices in place, then you can have your own American state national passport.
You got that one?
But right now, it's not the case.
Yeah. If you want to take a look at that or pass it down,
Just
Whatever.
ask a question, to clarify, and when the rest of the people see this. These, and you, I know you just talked about this, these fees are what you can charge?
yes.
Them, like the police officer that pulls you over,
I love
or the
Yeah.
whoever
Or when they
stabs
drag you
you
in
with
jail.
that nasty
Yep.
It's
Yep.
the officers don't have to pay it. It's the municipality that the officers, that
Okay.
these police work for.
Right.
Police meaning.
Are responsible for
Policy
it.
enforcer, policy comes
No,
from the word.
Right.
But
And
you
you'll
do have-
notice with mine there, sorry, because I was married before, if you've been married before, it's different for women. Certain documents, you have to use all the names that you've ever used. If you use nicknames, if you've ever used, yeah, that has to be in there. So I have more forms in mine than my husband's here.
Yeah, because you have to claim them all back into your
yeah,
private
that's what
copyright,
you're
so they
doing.
can't use them anymore.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
about the fee schedule, just be aware they don't just turn around and pay you. We cannot enforce it yet. We can lien them according to their own laws, and they may have, they may get, they may be cannot be able, may not be able to sell their house because there's a lien on it. But that is a whole different process. But it is always good to do to make them aware of what's. And once we have actually our courts, we can enforce it.
Is there a certain percentage of people that have to become for us to be a very powerful entity here?
Anna has told us that we have to have at least one person in every county of a state in order to be more powerful in that particular state. So that's, our objective. We have a few people in our county, Thurston County, but we do not have our own assembly. And that's why I was hoping that we could kind of jumpstart it. We're planning on having a meeting sometime in September with the coordinator. She's the coordinator for the whole state of Washington, and probably helping other states out too. And she has agreed to come to a talk. We've already have the venue in place, and it'll hold like up to 70 people, so more people will be able to attend. And of course, she knows everything about everything, and so she will be talking at that. And of course, you all will be notified when we get a date set on that. The last page here on the handouts, common law community. The top, life, love, creativity. The middle column, abundance. And the last one is peacekeeping enforcement. Amos, if you want to say a little bit about that, and then let people know what the, what is it? The
Militia.
yeah, the militia. The people are considered the militia. It's not people running around with camos and rifles on their back. That's not what our term militia
There
means.
goes that fun.
But Amos will tell you about that.
Yeah, well, basically we have, I have to read off. I
Yeah.
tell you, everything is on the website, but I am still challenged to get through that. It's so much information.
Yeah, talk about,
It's,
a little bit of each of the columns, what we stand for, the assembly. You can read it.
Well, what basically means we have all our own offices. We create our own structure, which is based on the people and not on commerce. That's the main issue. But yeah, you can read all that up. For instance, on the last one is peacekeeping and enforcement. Now, that has several issues, but then there's a militia assembly, which is mainly for protecting the people from natural disasters, being able to come to aid. In other words, the civil government won't come out to help us. They will not do that. So we have to help ourselves. And that's what the militia is about. That is nothing to do with having, being in military gear and all that. But that's kind of a confusing item because militia is always understood like paramilitary troops and stuff like that. That's not it. Then the county sheriffs, technically, the ones we have, they are supposed to serve the people. And there has been a Supreme Court case because some of them have challenged the situation that they had to do it for the commercial interests. So the sheriffs have the freedom of choice. They can choose to assist the people rather than the corporations. However, that is not supported by those corporations, so it's not many who will do that. So that's why it's very important we have eventually our own sheriffs, which are not the same as the ones we have now, unless they choose to change it over.
And you can tell by the star that they wear. For the state nationals, it's just pointed stars, just with points. And then some of them have the little round things on them.
Like
And
old sheriffs in the old days.
Yeah, but the ones that are strictly pointed, they're actually the highest. They're actually in control of the ones with the small. So ours, and then there's a third one, and I can't remember what it is. But all this information you can get yourself by going on the website. There's tons and tons of information there, lots of things to learn. There's like videos, or you can read it about blood money, about the dead person scam, the birth certificates, all that stuff. You can read up on all that stuff or listen to it if it's an audio. And, like I say, we're still learning. And we haven't been there that long. And, there's people there, in the assembly that have been there for several years, and they still don't know everything. There's just, lots to learn. They've bamboozled us. They've made us believe, they've brainwashed us into believing that we're the employees and they're the employers, and it's actually the other way around. We're the employers.
Yeah, how do you keep a powerful entity under control? You don't let them know that they are powerful. And we all know that. But the key is here, I have made a few notes. Maybe that's what you mentioned about. The state assemblies are organized to perform 4 main functions. That's the General Assembly, which we have in Washington every month. Anyone is welcome. You don't have to be an American state national to get there. It's an open meeting. And then we discuss and we inform. Then we have International Business Assembly, and that's corporate but not incorporated, which is composed of state citizens, because you have to be a citizen to conduct business, because you cannot have divided interest. So for me, I'm a Swiss citizen and I'm an American state national. I cannot function in an office like that unless I let go my other citizenship. And then there's a Jural Assembly, which would then, we are working on installing that in our state here, which then would create their own courts. And then we would have the so-called Article 3 courts again, which don't exist anymore now. And then the Militia Assembly is on, as I mentioned a little bit, is more like public safety within the state, or each state has their own. And we have teamed up with CERT system, the CERT is Community Emergency Response Team, which I think is over the country, and we do basically piggyback on their structure, and so there is a good way of communication between what we have now, like fire departments, so we can assist them in an emergency, that can work hand in hand. So we don't try to be separate from everything. We want to be inclusive of everything, but we want to make sure everybody understands we are the boss, we are the employer, not the boss, but the employers, and not them. So, but anyway, I hope I didn't confuse you more than you can learn. But the key is, Ruth has made a really nice package here that gives you a good start. And again, the website has lots of information. And we do have your email addresses, so if you're okay with that, we will keep you informed about what's coming up next month. And you're welcome to bring friends and people you know, and so we get the ball rolling. And hopefully you take advantage of Ruth with her knowledge, and if you're interested in signing in with it, so that would be great. And
then at the end there's 5 articles by Anna. The last one is how to correct your political status and why. So this gives some of the information about the forms too, so which would be helpful. So you can read those, and that's about
So,
it.
when we're all said and done and become American national, we will own our own property, we will own our automobile, we will own
Our bodies.
our bodies.
yes and
Making
no.
it simple.
Yes and no.
As long as we do the paperwork for that.
And you have
Yeah.
to let them know.
And my husband, he has to do it all too.
She's gonna own her husband.
Yeah, everyone for themselves, yeah, yeah. But I have to warn you about properties and all that. Yes, you're basically right or correct, but I have to always remind myself these are all criminals. Maybe not the employees down where you talk with them, but they are brainwashed. They have no idea what they're doing.
Well, we don't owe money on any of our property.
Right. So you can actually make a lot of things happen with your own land, but it's a learning curve. It's a process, and we are in the land patent group, and we have created a land patent document that should be clear cut and concise, but it doesn't mean they will honor it. Right.
If they're ignorant,
Right.
they won't.
They might go to jail.
So we have
So I
to
think
push
you
them a
better
bit.
pay your
I would
income
recommend
tax.
if you don't want to have foreclosure on you coming up, tax sale or anything, yeah, you stay current, but you inform yourself how to get it out, without being forced to let it go. I'm not in that position. I've been fighting with the banks for over 10 years now, and I'm hopefully being successful at some point, but my risk is I lose it because they're stealing it from me, not because they own it, because they're stealing it. And I have no wits and whereabouts to force them. But the key is, some people have been successful. That's the important part. Eventually,
Some people have gone to federal
we will get
Some people have
everything
lost
back.
Some people have
Right.
lost it all and gone to federal prison. I mean, that's
Right,
where
right,
some
right.
people balk at stuff like this.
Yeah, yeah.
'Cause I do have
Well,
friends that
because
are-
they haven't become a state national, they haven't
They didn't do it all.
proclaimed it. Like,
No, they became
for-
a political prisoner instead.
yeah, see, with David Strait or some other the people, yeah, you can become an American state national, but you don't have the filing resources. You have to file in their system. And what happens when after a while, they get all these from people and they go, oh, we don't believe in these documents, and they disappear,
Or they rewrite the legislation to discount.
Exactly,
Yeah,
exactly, with our,
The clerks down at the Secretary of State office won't file them. They'll give you a lot of guff. They'll like stick a star on there that doesn't mean anything. They'll just do everything they can to beat around the bush.
just to get rid of you, yeah.
Yeah, but just
Yeah.
have to be aware of something. Donald Trump is still a U.S. citizen. David Strait is still a U.S. citizen. They're still slaves. They may not know it, they may not think they are, but they are, because they are in allegiance with them, because they haven't separated themselves from them yet. Be aware of that. Don't believe the preachers. Just believe them who stepped in and did it themselves.
May I ask you something on that?
What?
On that question about them being U.S. citizens
Yeah.
and you guys being assembly nationals, have you ever gotten a FBI background check on any of them or yourselves?
What do you mean?
Anyone in the organization?
Us, them,
Yeah,
us.
anyone, because I'm trying to document what you're saying. You just made a statement.
When you are in a position to be in an office in the assembly, you will be vetted. Yeah, you will have to have a background
Everybody's
check and
vetted.
everything.
So, I mean, if you filed anything with any of the other agencies to let them know that, put them on notice or anything at all, or?
You can do that. It's your choice to do that. Yes.
Okay, I'm just,
Yeah.
Like sending the FBI, let them know that you're American national, state national. Yeah, you can. But of course, it's like dangling a carrot in front of
They're
them.
still part of the deep state, anyway.
Right.
Well,
I wouldn't waste my
yeah,
time.
everything, when anything's ever filed, it automatically goes internationally, any of the recorders, as far as I know. Does the public recorder for the assemblies, does that actually get filed, anywhere besides just inside the public recorder, or does it go,
It's
does it
your
go anywhere
choice,
else?
yeah,
Yeah.
it's your choice. You have to understand though, if I may, it's a public record, we don't hide. If
So-
you want to tell them on top of that, that's your choice, but they can find it, there's no way of.
Well, all I'm saying is, does it get recorded in their corporate structure at all? Not unless you get, I guess you
No,
get stopped.
it stays in our American state,
Okay.
national, in our record, our land recording office. We record our documents. If you also want to record certain documents with the state of state, your county recorder's office, you can do that as well. The fees for our land recording office is to file a document, it's $25. To publish it, it's another $25, so it's $50. Whether you file one document, 5 documents, 10 documents, 15 documents at the same time. That's why, I'm offering, for people that want to do more than just the 5 documents to become a state national, to do more, because it's still the same recording fee. It'd be $25 to record them and $25 to publish them. And in addition, and like I say, with the credential card, or even people just have to go into that website and they can check to see if anybody's a state national or somebody that said they're a state national, to prove that they are a state national, because they can go in there and they can verify that this is the person, that's, their name, and this is all the documents that they've recorded. Okay, but if you want to file with the state of state, then maybe there's certain ones that you do, you can file it with them. You can send letters out with certain attachments, telling them and giving them copies of whatever you want them to know.
Well, essentially, I think I heard Alma say something about when they had some food stamps or something, they were trying to entrap him again on it, and he actually essentially put them on notice when he filed the paperwork with them.
Exactly. Well, that's what you do. And then, like I say, you follow up with your fee schedules, which you'll learn about.
I think I
yeah.
understand you. What you're saying is that another contract when you negate something? Is that
Yeah, a lot of times, like, people over the years, they would file all this paperwork for taking back their driver's license or whatever. They had a contract with any agency and stuff, I was saying that 20 years ago or so. So I just wonder if any of that was ever filed with any of the Secretary of States.
If you
or
want to do
notaries
that
or anything,
with the
so I was
driver's
just
license,
curious.
you have to file it with the Secretary of State. They are the gatekeepers.
What?
They are the gatekeepers. They are the
Secretary
ones in
of
charge. Yeah,
Yeah.
and they're the ones that have to give you a remedy too, but they don't want to.
Yeah, they're the head of the